In today's biased news, Israel's bombing has exceeded the yield of the nuke dropped on Hiroshima. The leader of Hezbollah delivers his long-awaited speech. And France does something right for once. In a handful of Gaza updates, the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza has updated the death toll to 9,227 since October 7th, with a significant number of casualties being children. Over 32,500 people have been wounded during the same period. Israeli forces killed a Palestinian man and wounded 2 others during a raid in a village northwest of Ramallah. This incident adds to the rise in casualties in the occupied West Bank since Thursday night, bringing the total to 10 fatalities. Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has delivered his first public speech since the escalation as Israel continues its offensive on the Gaza Strip. Nasrallah says Hamas's operation established a new historical phase in the battle with Israel. He calls the Palestinians' decision to launch Al-Aqsa Flood right, wise, and courageous, adding that it was carried out with the correct timing. The Hezbollah chief says one of Israel's biggest mistakes now is making goals that it cannot achieve. Nasrallah states that Hezbollah entered the battle on October 8th, the day after the Palestinian resistance launched its surprise attack on southern Israel. The Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor estimates that 25,000 tons of explosives have been used to decimate Gaza since October 7th. That is equivalent to 2 nuclear bombs worth of explosives, or 10 kilograms per person. The nuclear bombs dropped by the US on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were only equivalent to about 15,000 tons of explosives, and it should be noted that Hiroshima was 900 square kilometers, while Gaza is just 360. A new report describes how Gaza City and the northern areas have become completely deserted due to the fear of Israeli bombardments. Markets are closed, and people are afraid to go out, with good reason. Reports indicate that a significant number of Palestinian workers have been sent back to Gaza from Israel and the West Bank, accelerating the long purge of Arabs from Israel proper. Demonstrations in support of Palestine continue to grow in countless countries around the world. These protests aim to express solidarity with Palestinians and call for an end to Israeli bombings in Gaza. The Western media continues to ignore them, but the tide is beginning to turn regardless of mainstream propaganda. Israeli forces reportedly used tear gas to disperse worshippers who were attempting to enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied East Jerusalem. Israel's top military spokesperson reports that 241 people are being held captive in Gaza, and 338 Israeli soldiers have been killed since the conflict began. Pro-Palestine protesters, particularly students in the most hypocritical country on the topic of free speech, the US, are increasingly concerned about potential professional repercussions for their activism during Israel's genocide of Gaza. Some high-profile cases, like a Hollywood agent's resignation and an editor's firing, have heightened these fears. Students in particular face discrimination and online harassment, with reports of doxing and labeling as anti-Semites. Organizations like Palestine Legal have received a significant increase in complaints, creating a climate of fear and paranoia. Legal challenges related to hiring discrimination are difficult to prove due to the concept of at-will employment. Despite these challenges, many students remain committed to speaking out against injustice, prioritizing their principles over career opportunities. The Pakistani government has set a deadline for 1.7 million Afghans living in the country to leave voluntarily or face forced removal. Thousands of Afghans formed long queues at the busiest border point, with over 29,000 crossing into Afghanistan the day before the deadline. Pakistani authorities plan to launch operations to arrest undocumented families who refuse to leave. There are 49 holding centers across the country set up to process and deport Afghans. The move is driven by racist concerns for Pakistan's welfare and security, with popular support due to the burden on infrastructure from a protracted refugee presence. While the argument of Pakistan didn't cause what happened in Afghanistan, why should they deal with this, is understandable, there is no universe where the mass expulsion of immigrants or refugees directly to the state they fled is the right thing to do. Sam Bankman-Fried, once a prominent figure in the cryptocurrency world, has been found guilty of multiple charges related to the collapse of the massive cryptocurrency exchange FTX. Despite his initial success and involvement in the crypto industry, Bankman-Fried admitted that he had little knowledge about cryptocurrency and started FTX with the idea of selling it to a bigger exchange. FTX was once valued at $32 billion with high-profile investors, but it filed for bankruptcy in 2022, causing a panic in the crypto industry. Bankman-Fried was found guilty of fraud and conspiracy, including stealing billions of dollars from FTX customers and defrauding lenders. His net worth saw a drastic decline as FTX's assets plummeted, resulting in a 94% one-day loss. the largest ever tracked by the Bloomberg Billionaire Index. His parents, both law professors at Stanford, were drawn into the legal issues surrounding FTX due to a lawsuit alleging they were aware of or ignored signs of fraudulent activities. Bankman-Fried may face up to 110 years in prison if given the maximum sentence. And in positive news for the day, French President Macron has announced that a woman's right to abortion will be included in the French Constitution starting in 2024. This move comes as a response to the rollback of abortion rights in the United States earlier in the year. Although abortion was legalized in France in 1975, there has been no constitutional guarantee of this right. Macron will utilize a workaround by convening a Congress of both houses of the French Parliament to amend the Constitution, requiring the support of 3/5 of members for the change to take effect. Every once in a while, France does something right. That's all for today. We'll be back on Monday with more news. If you'd like to see longer episodes with more in-depth analysis, consider becoming a patron so we can grow and expand.